Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to Financing a Business. We have our very own SCORE Boston mentor, Shankar Hegde. And he's done this presentation for us before, and he's got a lot of information to share with you today that I think you're going to find useful. So I want to start off with a little bit about SCORE. SCORE has a number of roles in the community, one being training, which you are here for that today through webinars and hopefully in the future soon, in-person workshops. Our websites also have a ton of information for your use, templates that you can download, other materials and slides and presentations that you can look at free of charge. The most important thing that SCORE does is mentoring. Our mentors are volunteers. They come to us from different backgrounds and experiences, and they're looking to give back to those that want to start a business, are thinking about starting a business, and already are in business. The wonderful thing about SCORE is we are a national organization, so we do have that ability to pull from a database of experiences should that need arise. Okay, how do you get a mentor? Super easy. You can put a note to me in chat, and I'll make sure that the proper chapter reaches out to you. You can email me, and my email is on my little video picture, or you can go to the websites listed here, and I will put those in chat after the intro so that you can use those links directly to register for a mentor. If you already have a mentor and it's been a while, reach out to them. Even if it's been a couple years, they'd love to hear how things are going for you in your business or in the process of getting your business going. Either way, we do like to use Q&A. If you put something into Q&A, that tells me you would like that question asked out loud to the presenter. That just keeps me from losing track of any of the questions that are submitted. And chat can be used for anything in general, but Q&A is the key to getting your question asked out loud to our presenter. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop my share, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Shankar. It's all yours.
Thank you, Teresa. Let me open up my presentation. And just a minute. Okay. Can you see this, Teresa?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Teresa, again. I am Shankar Hegde. A little bit about me. I have been with SCORE for about 5 years. Before that, I worked for a big company, then worked for a startup, and then I had my own startup companies, in fact, 2 of them. So I have gone through all aspects of startup, including raising the money, marketing and sales, recruiting people, and any other kind of operational aspect of a business. So what I'm talking about here, most of them are from experiences. So let us get to the agenda. First of all, why do people start businesses? So I want to go through some of the reasons. And then there are a couple of ways to start a business. And no matter what type of business you start, there are common, what I call a financing sources for a business. So let's go through some of them. Then I will give you some of the funding statistics. This is based on about 1,000 startup companies that we did survey. SCORE did do the survey a couple of years ago. So I'm going to give you that statistics. And then we can preserve or keep last 5 to 10 minutes for questions and answers. So with that, okay, why do people start businesses? The fundamental or the most important reason is because people think that they have a unique product or service that they can sell that will be valuable to somebody else so that they can get paid for that product or service. Many people want to be their own boss. It may not be the the real reason for the startup, but some people wanted to be their own boss. But also many people want to build something that is again useful to society. And many people have the idea that they want to get rich. They all have this notion of Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos. Absolutely, you can get rich. You may not be as rich as those people, but at least you should be able to make a good living. Otherwise, no point starting a business. You might as well work for somebody else. And want to build a lifestyle business. This is getting more and more interesting, and a lot more people are doing it. YouTuber is a great example, right? Many of YouTube people, whether it's cooking or whether it's a travel or any of those businesses via the YouTube. And if it is very popular, you can make a very decent living, I hear. More than a decent living. In fact, you can make millions, I hear that. But you need to get to that level of number of subscribers. Again, there are many types of businesses, the products or services, and then professional services like legal, accounting. And don't forget the nonprofit. That is a business as well. Some people are interested in starting a nonprofit. Okay, there are at least 3 ways of starting a business that I know of. One is, everybody knows about this one, start from scratch. You have a business idea, then you have a unique business proposition, whether it's a product or a service, then you start a business. But there is another way of starting business, is buy an existing business. Or you can license a brand or business, which is called franchising. Let us look at some of the advantages and disadvantages of starting a business from scratch. Advantage is that you have a total control. You are the boss. You make all decisions and you keep all the profits. That's how you get rich. That is the biggest upside. Disadvantage is that you have to create all the operation systems, and believe it or not, starting from scratch has the highest rate of failure. 1 in 10 may survive, 1 in 100 may survive. And also it takes years. Many times it will take 2, 3, or sometimes 5, 10 years before you make money. So that means you have to have the funding, whether your own money or limited financing sources that I'm going to talk to you. But funding options are limited, even though there are various options. I will talk to you today about funding. But actually, when you start looking into funding, the options are not too many. So that's a big disadvantage. However, you can buy an existing business, though clearly there is advantage is the cash flow, and actually the previous owner will have to, or will show the historical results. And also, if you want to raise money, it is attractive to lenders because you already have a business that is running, and it is an established location, and you have a customer base. And also some of the systems that you need to operate your business, they're already in place. And sometimes the seller may even do some financing for you. So always it's better to ask him first for the money. Now the disadvantage is, yes, there is a book, there is a cash flow, but really you will find out whether it's real or it's not really what is happening. So you will find that out pretty soon. And you will probably never find out why the seller is selling. And also some of the employees may quit. That means you need to hire and train all new employees. So that is not going to be easy, especially nowadays. Now, the third option is probably the best of both. which is franchising. Many people have heard about big names in franchising. I think McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Dunkin' Donuts, to name a few. So as you can see, there is a name recognition, then there is a proven business system, business model, and they do provide the training and support. And obviously the parent company had the marketing experience, marketing expertise, and they have the purchasing power. So that's why once you buy a good franchising, the failure rate is pretty low. So you just keep operating. However, the disadvantage is, so their operating system, their systems that you need to operate your business, they are structured. What that means is you cannot change them. It's not easy for you to change to suit your own location or suit your own business needs. And you probably know that there is a territory restriction. So only you can sell the product or service in the specified geographical location. And obviously you need to pay an ongoing royalty. So that cuts into your profit. Okay, no matter what type of business you start, the first and foremost, and maybe probably the easiest one to get, is owner financing. So dip into your savings or other liquid assets, including home equity. I would not encourage you to use your credit card unless you have the discipline and money to pay the monthly charges on time. Otherwise, as you know, they will charge you an amount of interest, which is 16 to 25%. Home equity is better, as I said before, and you can always get the home equity loan and you can use it. And it is percentage-wise still much less than the credit card. In fact, home equity loan, I had one about 3%. I think now it has gone up to 5%. Or you can get a personal loan. And the best part is you should ask your relatives or friends to get some help to run your business. Okay, they can always say no, but always you should ask. Okay, now I will talk to you in terms of what I call an ecosystem, because these four types of getting money are: one is business plan or the grant, or incubators or accelerators or crowdfunding. They are kind of there to help each other out. And overall, you need to grow the business ecosystem in a country or in a state. So there are a lot of agencies that provide you the grant to do that. Let's go one by one. Business plan competition. Most of the business plan competitions are at a university. What that means is universities have a business plan competition. It's open for undergraduates, graduates, postdoctoral, faculty, or I think it's even open for family and friends of those people. So you should take a look into those. I'm only outlining some of the half a dozen or so in the local area, in the New England area specifically. So the first and foremost is MIT. As you know, MIT has so many programs for starting a business. And the flagship is what they call 100K entrepreneurship competition that happens every year. Then the next door to MIT is Harvard Business School, and HBS has what they call a new venture competition. And in fact, there are probably a couple of more. Babson has a couple of programs, and Dartmouth and BU, as well as UMass Innovation Challenge. The last one at the universities, U.Pitch, used to be from the universities. Now, I think it's run by, hold on a minute, future founders. Okay. Cupid is a future founder, is run by that. And if I can click on here. Yes. Okay, this is open for everybody. It is a 90-second pitch, and you have a chance to win a 10,000 prize. So I think this is for middle school, high school, 18 to 30. Okay, so it's open for everybody. Okay. Now, other organizations have business plan competitions as well. American Chemical Society has one. There is a Draper competition specifically for women. And then the last one is Global Student Entrepreneur Awards. Is available to all the students from any country. Okay, so this is something about business plans. Now let's go to the grants. So these are the money that you have to apply. Most of them you apply online. And this is the grant money. That means you don't have to give back any money. And they don't have any interest in taking any equity out of your company. That means you keep all that money. So let's start with Amber Grant. And this is specifically for women. This is 10,000. They have the grant application. They can apply every month. You can apply more than once if you don't get it the first time. And 10,000 every month and 25,000 every year. This is the Amber Grant. Then within the last couple of years, 3 founders came up with what I call Hello Alice. Hello Alice is specifically for minorities and women. And again, I have the links, so you can probably click on those links to get more information. Hello Alice is for minorities and women. Just a minute. Okay. Okay, so you can get started here, and then online there is application. There you go, email and password, you need to have a login, and then once you have that, you can submit online. Okay. Just a minute, let me. Okay. FedEx small business grant is from Federal Express and ranging from 15,000 to 50,000 for small businesses. And NASE is the National Association for Self-Employed. This has a grant program as well. It's a little small amount, it's 4,000. And Cartier Women's Initiative Award, again for women only. The Halstead grant is for female jewelry designers only. And then there is a bunch of state grants, okay? So this one I found recently. Okay, this, by the way, is put up by I believe it's a state business incentive database. It is put up by, I think, the private company. Okay, now you click on Massachusetts, and there are grants 36, and you can look at all the programs and you can apply. There is user login, but I just found out that you have to be a member of C2ER, okay? Click here to join, and then they ask you for the membership. It is about $365. So before you join, think through whether becoming a member is worth it. Okay. And then there are various grants which are called federal grants. Okay, this again, you have to spend some time. There is a lot of different options to find out what you are suited for, what is your type of business. And then there are various agencies here. You can pick what agency. For example, you can pick Department of Commerce, This is where I got my money, $3 million some time ago. So then you can apply. So this is a federal grant. Out of federal grants, I'll give you a little bit more details on the type of federal grants called SBIR and STTR. This is where I got the $3 million some time ago from SBIR. The only difference between SBIR and STTR is STTR, you need to be working with a university. It's a joint program, whereas SBIR, you can just submit your own application. So this is actually the amount of money they spent during the fiscal year 19. This is the latest I got. I tried to look for 2020 or 2021. I don't have it online. However, what it shows you is there's a lot of money to be given away in the grants, all the way from Department of Defense, spending a couple of billion, to EPA, which is 3.6 million grants, and different agencies in between. Okay, now let's go on to incubators and accelerators. Even though those are two different types of funding agencies, now the demarcation is kind of going away. Incubators are meant to be the companies that work with you when you just have an idea. And they do provide some grant, they do provide the space for starting your business. And then accelerator is to scale up your business. So incubator first, then the accelerators. But many of these, there is no distinction. Like a mass challenge, whether the incubator or accelerator, I think it's both. Y Combinator is something started in Silicon Valley. I think it's available for everybody. Code Launch is something in the Northeast. And then Harvard Innovation Lab has incubator. In fact, there is a space there you can spend. If you get in, they give you the space as well. And MIT has a program called Global Startup Labs, then the Cubics Labs as well. So again, there is a link here. There are a lot more than outlined here about incubators and accelerators, and Boston, Cambridge, as well as Central Mass, Merrimack Valley, Metro West, North Shore, South Core, Cape Cod. I think it covers most of New England areas. Okay. Now let's look at crowdfunding. Many people are familiar with some of the crowdfunding. For example, GoFundMe. This is for personal emergencies. If death in the family and he or she the only breadwinner, then usually friends will put up a GoFundMe. But let me start off with the Kickstarter. That's probably the popular one and probably the biggest one, where it is all or nothing. It means you have a campaign, and once they approve your campaign, it starts. And if you are, say, you're putting up to raise $1 million in 3 months, and then you get $1 million if you can get $1 million in 3 months. Otherwise, the money is not yours. Money goes back to the donors. Whereas Indiegogo, you can keep the money. There are two options. One is fixed, one is flexible. So if it is flexible, that means you keep the money. If it is $1 million and you get, say, 100,000, you keep the money. But Kickstarter and Indiegogo, they do both charge. I think they charge, hold on a minute. They charge about 5% on top of process payment charges. So that means 5% plus some money on every transaction. So both have the similar kind of a model. Mighty Cause, the third one here, is really for nonprofit. Okay, that is probably the topmost crowdfunding source. Patreon is for creators, but in the digital domain. If you are a YouTuber or if you are a blogger, this is the place to go to raise money. I did talk to you about GoFundMe for personal funds, and Circle Up. Circle Up is for scaling up your startups. Okay. Again, this link gives you a lot more than I have outlined, including some of the other GoFundMe, including some of the other crowdfunding sources. There are Seed Invest, Crowdcube, Crowdfunder, Fundable, etc. Okay. Now, all these things are what I call ecosystem funding. Now, another way of getting the funding is through loan, which is a debt financing. Obviously, the first thing to do is to go to your own bank, and there is a revolving credit. They give you the money for working capital or line of credit. Okay, line of credit means you establish a line of credit, say 100,000, and you can take the money out up to $100,000. Okay. But as you know, banks always want collateral. They will evaluate your application to make sure that you're going to return their money. So the credit score is important. However, if you don't have a good credit score and you don't have collateral to put up, the second one, peer-to-peer lending, is a way to go. But the peer-to-peer lending obviously charges you a much higher interest rate. Okay, there are various ones. Peer form is the biggest one. The best overall is peer form. I think it's for investors, but it says Happy Money. Best rate for borrowers is Happy Money, and Upstart. Okay, again, this gives you all the details on pros and cons of every one of those. You can take a look at them. Now, the third part of debt financing is equipment leasing, especially if you are in a heavy industries and your equipment costs a lot of money, then really the provider of the equipment, we can lease you the equipment and have a term of anywhere from 1 to 3 years to the complete your lease. So one of the good advantage here is the money that goes towards the lease is considered as a business expense. So you can itemize that as a business expense. Now, invoice or receivable financing is something that some companies do, Blue Wine, Fundbox, etc. So suppose you have invoice, but there is a net maybe 90 days, right? You don't get the money up to 90 days. So what that means is you can provide or produce that invoice to one of these companies. They will give you the cash right away. However, they don't give you the 100% of the cash. So they keep, I don't know, 5 to 10%, they keep the money. So 100,000 invoice, they may give you 90,000. And when they get paid, they get obviously 100,000 from the invoice. So that's how they make money. But you get your money right away. You don't have to wait for 90 days. Now, the next one is really through Small Business Administration. There are a bunch of options for getting the loan there. I'm going to spend the next slide on that. So SBA does not provide you the money. SBA only guarantees the loan. So you as a borrower apply at a bank. In fact, SBA recommends some of the banks that they work with. So you approach SBA first, and then you work from or work through SBA. They ask a business plan, and they also want cash flow. So once you have those two things, SBA recommends that you contact this bank. So then you apply at the bank, then bank decides, and if they want to give you the loan, then bank provides you the loan. It's only SBA does the back or guarantee the loan. And then you deal with bank to get the loan, and SBA is behind the scenes. Okay, why do the lenders or the banks use the SBA guarantee? Because your collateral may be inadequate. They don't want to take that high risk. So they want SBA to share that risk. And some of the, again, startup or certain types of businesses are maybe high risk. And so bottom line is the bank wants to minimize the risk. So some of the loans maturities are up to 10 years and up to 25 years for fixed asset. Again, interest rates are negotiable between the bank and the borrower, but always there is a cap. It cannot exceed prime rate more than 2 3/4. Again, what the bank looks for is you as the owner with good credit and character, and they are obviously looking for your business plan, whether the your business is feasible, whether you will generate enough income, not only to sustain you, but to pay back the loan. Whether you have the sufficient loans to really start and operate your business, and whether you have the sufficient collateral. So to be eligible for the SBA loan, your business must be operated for profit, and it should be of a certain size. When you say not to exceed SBA size standards, it depends on the industry. Some industries, it could be less than 50 people, and some industries, again, it could be less than some 37 million, which is 37 million is the highest for construction, I believe. So again, you can look it up. What is the size in terms of both the revenue and the number of employees? Again, when you get the loan, you cannot invest the loan in stock, or you can't invest the loan in buying a property. You have to invest your loan in the business that you are planning to have. So this is the most popular loan. SBA guaranteed loan is a 7A program. And there are some details here. Again, all these details are on the SBA website as well. Okay, now in addition to the SBA guaranteed loan program, there is another one called a 504 CDC, which is Certified Development Company. So that means, so SBA guaranteed loan is say 50% of the loan, then you as a business owner say puts up 10%, then you are looking for that additional 40%, you approach CDC via SBA. So this is another type of loan that is administered by SBA. Okay, again, these are some of the details. I'm not going to go through some of these things. Again, it's all on the SBA website. So again, one more is what they call a micro loan, which is a direct loan up to 50,000. It can be used for working capital or buying the inventory, by machining or refinancing a business. Again, the interest rate is below 9% and up to 6 years of repayment. Okay, now let me go through a different type of getting business financing. This is what I call equity financing. What that means is the person who gives you this money takes a % interest in your company. So that means you have to work with them to negotiate the amount of equity you are willing to give up in return for the money you are going to get. So the first and the easy one is if you don't have enough financial sources, you may want to team up with another partner who may be financing, who may have means to finance your business. So again, you may have more than one partner. I have seen companies anywhere from 3 to 5 partners. If there are too many, like 10 or 15, too many. So my advice is, in addition to you, you can pick a couple of more partners to have the financing arrangement. Again, here is the same thing. You have to work with the partners for negotiating the equity. So how much you own your business and how much you're going to be willing to give up, what percentage of your company to your partners. Okay. Another way is to approach another company, and preferably you have a product or service and you are planning to sell that to another company, hopefully a bigger company with more financial resources. Then you should approach that company not just for your product or service, but for equity financing as well. So I've seen a lot of small companies have gone through that route. It's probably easier than some other financing options I'm going to talk to you soon. Now, you all heard about going IPO, which is public market. So you're a small company, you want to take it to public. Many people have the notion that going public is just to make money. As a founder, I want to cash in. But really, the real reason for going public is to raise more capital so that you can grow your company, you can scale up your company. And in doing so, you can cash out and you get some of your equity in liquidated. That means you get some money out of your equity. So again, there is some lockup period. It could be 6 months. Most of the time, I think it's 6 months, but it may be changing. So what that means is once you go public, you cannot sell your shares for 6 months. So after that, you can't sell all your shares. There is what they call a vesting period. You can sell some. But as I said before, the real reason should be to raise money to grow your company. Now, then this is the public market. Now there is another way is called a private market. And there are 3 different types of private market. The first one is through angel investors. So angel investors could be either individual investors who have money and who are willing to invest in your company, or they could be combination. There are multiple investors are pooling their money together and they have what I call angel investor companies or angel investor firms. Boston Harbor Angels is one. Again, these are all in the local area. Boston Harbor Angels is one, and Thai Boston Angels, and I was a member of that. I was running Thai Boston Angels for a year. And all these things, there is an application process. It's called GUST. So again, you can check online. So there is an application process, but once you have the application, you can submit to multiple angel groups. The third one is a Launchpad Venture Group, again, Cherrystone Angel Group, Landmark, Northeast. The last one is Golden Seeds. The reason I'm talking to you on Golden Seeds is this is only for women. So you may want to take a look at that. It used to be local. I think it's pretty big now. They have offices in New York City as well, and New England. I think they started out here. So these, and there are a lot more angel investors, not just these. Again, there are a lot of individual angel investors. Not easy to get to them. You need to know somebody who knows the individual angel investor. That way you can get an introduction. That way you can get into their sources of funding. And some of the individual angel investors, they mostly go by recommendation. So really you need to know somebody who knows that angel. Okay, let me just go back up. Okay, now the other 2 are venture capital, which is called VC, then the private equity. Okay, so how VC is different from PE. And they're all different in different ways. The types of companies they invest in. The VCs, they invest in the startup companies. If you have just an idea, you can approach the VCs. They put starting out with a seed money, and then they have first round, second round, etc. So if you're a startup company, or if you have just an idea, the VC is the way to go. Okay, and whereas PE, which is private equity, they're not really interested in as a startup, but they are mostly into the big companies that are in trouble. They want to go in and buy the company, and they will probably buy multiple companies, and they kind of combine them, and they may probably sell them. So the level of capital invested is different, as you know. The VCs, if you are a startup company, the seed money could be anywhere from 100,000 to $1 million. Then the first round could be a few million, and they may go up to 10 million, 15, 20 million. Whereas the PE are into big games, right? I mean, they spend billions pretty much acquiring big companies. So the level of capital invested is different in VC compared to PE. So that's why the amount of equity that they obtain through investment is different. And VCs, you can probably get by with funding from multiple rounds of VCs. You can get by. What that means is you still have the control interest. That means you can still own more than 50% of your company. Whereas if you are bought over by PE, that means you are being bought over. They own 100% of your company. So the amount of equity is different between VC and PE. And when they get involved in during a company lifestyle is different as well. So the VCs start involving in a seed money. That means right at the beginning, and they kind of work with you to grow your company. Okay, whereas the PEs really come in when you are big, but somehow your company is in trouble, or not necessarily the company is in trouble. You probably want to sell your company, even though you are a big billion-dollar company. You probably are public, but you want to take it private. So you want to sell it. So that's when the private equity companies come into picture. Okay, I'm outlining some of the VC capital companies in this area. Mass Ventures, Atlas, Bessemer, some of them are high tech. I think probably I might have listed most of them that are dealing with the technology companies. But again, you can go through the Google search to see what kind of VCs are interested in the type of business you are in or the type of industry you are in. Because you should take a look at their what they call a portfolio companies before you approach them. And then you get an idea of what type of company they invest in. So that's the first thing to do, is to search through those companies to find out what industries they invest in and what kind of companies they're invested in. And then you can approach to ask for capital. Okay, this may not be applicable for many of the listeners, but again, private equity, I have listed a few companies here. Private equity companies, again, if you're interested or if you know a friend who is a big company guy, obviously, you can refer to them. Private equity companies, they already may know about these companies. There are literally hundreds of these companies around. Okay, now let me talk to you a little bit on the funding statistics. As I said before, we surveyed about 1,000 startup companies. And guess what? 63% of these companies got their startup capital via the personal funds. What that means is they have their own money, or they might have the money from their friends and relatives. Okay. The next one is about 12% comes from friends right here. Then about 11% from the bank loan, and all the way down about 2% in grants and about 1.7% in crowdfunding. And at the bottom here, 42% of entrepreneurs started with less than 5,000 in cash. Okay, and 49% started with more than 10,000, 24% started with more than 50. So again, it's not that you need millions to start a business, depending upon what kind of a business you are in, what kind of a cash flow requirements you have. So that determines how much startup capital that you need. Okay, now this one is how they have used the funds. Okay, most of the funding used for equipment, supplies, and marketing. Okay, purchasing equipment was 63%, marketing was 48%, and hiring staff 25%, product development about 27%. And remember or not forget, you have to pay yourself. Okay, during your company, especially when in the startup phase, you have to get paid. So you have to account for your own salary. So they're about 23%. Okay, so this is how the funds were used. This data is less than 5-year-old. Okay, Teresa, I think I'm done. Next 10 minutes or so, you can answer any questions if anybody has.
Yeah, I do not have any questions posted right now.
Okay.
One person did submit a question, but I think that person would be better served to talk to a mentor one-on-one. So
Okay.
I do encourage anyone that's on today, if you do have questions that are specific to your business, we have a team of mentors that can go through the options that might work best for you. And again, you can reach us on the SCORE websites that I posted at the beginning of the session, or you can email me at outreach@scoreboston.org. And I can make sure that the right chapter, you get connected to the right chapter. I still don't see any questions being posted. So I guess we can go ahead and wrap it up today. Thank you, Shankar, for giving another information-packed presentation. And I wish everyone a good weekend.
Okay, same to you, Teresa.
Thank you. Oh, wait, I got one. Oh,
Okay.
nope, it's a thank you.
Oh, okay.
It's a thank you from one of the attendees. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.